Hello everyone, I'm here to give you all 3 concepts to work on that will improve your improvisation with exponential speed. These 3 things are so fundamental to improvisation, yet are often overlooked in pursuit of just making something happen on the instrument. So working on and mastering these things will get you to where you want to be quickly if you commit to working on them. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to address is scales. And you're probably wondering why I would address something that we learn in grade school. But we have to play scales for our professors in college and university. So there must be something there, right? And there is. Scales are a fundamental part of music. So it's quite simple to say that learning your scales will elevate your playing pretty quickly. But we can go a little bit deeper than that. Chord changes are all based on scales as well. So learning the scales that the chord changes are defining is the first step in being able to improvise. Beyond that, just learning your scales in the quite simple fashion that we learn in grade school will only get you so far. It's about mastering your scales and being able to play them without hesitation. And that is what I wanted to touch on here in this video for you guys. Mastering your scales will show instant improvement in your playing. Once you've mastered your scales, you will notice yourself flowing effortlessly over chord changes, where before you might be struggling to figure out what notes to play and where. And with this freedom of not focusing strictly on what notes you can play, you're able to focus on what you want to play and how you want to play them. So learning your scales in thirds, fourths, and fifths, and all different permutations that come with that, being able to play your scales on the full range of your instrument, up and down the whole thing. You can even practice enclosing the notes of the scales, so that way you get every little bit of chromaticism in there as well. And the goal here is to get all of these notes ingrained into your muscle memory, and to make sure that no matter what note it is you need to play, that it feels comfortable to play it. And I know this may seem like a mountain of a task, but remember, most scales are all based off variations or modes of the major scale. So, once you master those 12 major scales, you'll notice that you've improved quite a lot with doing very little. And from there, you can just keep building, add synthetic scales and different modes of the minor scale. The sky's the limit. Now the next topic is phrasing. And I know this concept can feel a little ambiguous as to what it is you want to practice to actually get better at this, but that's what I'm here for. Phrasing is a term that defines the arc and direction of the ideas that you play. When studying music theory, you'll learn different types of phrases like sentences and period and all of those things. And this is the same idea, but just with your improvisation. Now you don't have to go learning phrases and sentences and all of that jargon. There's a much easier place to start with, and that is a 4-bar phrase. This will work over a lot of jazz standards and especially the blues. So that's where we're going to start with, is the blues. First, you want to work on creating an idea that fits over the entirety of 4 bars. And that's it. No more, no less. And taking that idea and building off of it in the next 4 bars. Unique idea. And then so on, all in 4 bars. From here, we've begun to get what it feels like to play a good 4-bar phrase. And now we want to go check out some of your own favorite melodies, be it jazz or otherwise, and learn from those melodies. Simply, we just need to learn these melodies, feel what it feels like to play these melodies on your instrument, and what it feels like to play these good, very popular melodies that you yourself have fallen in love with. From there, you can start to develop your own ideas from the things that you've learned from learning these melodies. This process will quickly make your ideas sound more coherent and sound like they are flowing with reason and intent. Now, the next topic that I want to cover is arguably the most important topic of the three in this video, and that is getting into the groove of the music will improve your playing the most out of all of these three topics. And this is because you could play the most beautiful melody. You could play the most killing lick. But if it doesn't feel good, it's not really going to sound that good. So for the first example, I played the melody. The notes are in the chord changes, roughly fit where they fit in the measure, but the groove just wasn't there, so obviously it didn't really sound that good. Now the second example is what it sounds like if you play the same thing, just with the groove, with more intent. And obviously whenever you play with the groove, it starts to feel good, therefore sounds good. Now, there are several ways to improve your sense of groove and time, and I'll give you 3 in slightly increasing difficulty. And the first one that I'm going to cover is actually one that I kind of covered in my practice session video. You put a drum loop on, drum beat, what have you, just something to play along with, and just kind of play freely over that drum loop. The key is focus on staying in time with the drum loop without the feeling of needing to meet the changes. Just play whatever, but make sure to focus on making it in time and sounding good and feeling good. From there, you can start to do a little bit more. You can start by practicing with the metronome on just 2 and 4, and then playing your favorite tunes, meeting the chord changes, playing the melody, all that. This will force you to be able to follow the changes in the melody and all of that without the help of the rhythm section. It will also force you to stay in time or risk being lost in the changes. And finally, the last exercise is to play with the metronome just on 4. Now this one is quite difficult. This is difficult because you will largely have to keep track of time yourself. You've only got one beat, a measure that the metronome is going to click for you. And so you've got to make sure that you stay in time by yourself. But by mastering this, you will have a mastery over time itself. And at that point, you'll be able to get your notes to be able to groove in time, regardless of whether the rhythm section is playing with you or not. And that is the key. This is what will make your music and what you play feel good and ultimately sound good because of it. And that is all 3 concepts that I have for you to drastically improve your improvisation. I hope those of you who have found this have found something helpful in it. And those of you who would like to learn more, please consider subscribing. And feel free to contact me and we can figure out setting up an opportunity for private lessons. And if you want to try and support me in other ways, you can find a link to my Patreon page in the description. Thank you all for watching and happy practicing.